what science is working on and what they aren't. I know that science grows as our technology grows. The smarter we get, the smarter science gets, the better conclusions we come up with. What's the problem?
Which brings us to question 6A. Can you predict the future?
Nobody can predict the future.
Question 6AA. Does predicting the future based on assumptions contradict the humanistic view?
Predicting the future based on some contradict to the human. I don't know what you consider a humanistic view. What's humanistic view mean? What does that mean? Predicting the future based on assumptions is just stupid. I mean, just like, prophecies and prophets and believing that Jesus is going to come back and believing that you're going to go to heaven, based off of assumptions. It contradicts a lot of things. It contradicts logic. That's, the worst thing that it contradicts.
If you believe that what you experience through your five senses are the only things that exist, how can you try to predict the future since you can't see into the future?
What makes you think atheists are trying to predict the future? I mean, we can predict certain things based off of some scientific evidence, like the weather and things of that nature, and we can kind of look at the direction that human beings are going into, and we can all have assumptions and theories on what's going to happen to the world and everything else. Like, we can see what pollution is doing, and if we don't stop polluting the world, then this is what's going to happen. And there's certain things that we can look at and decide that if we keep doing A, B, C, or D, then this is what the outcome is going to be. But other than that, I don't see a lot of atheists, going around being like, trying to be like Nostradamus or something.
6AB. If not, how so? And give 100% infallible, non-opinionated empirical proof on how it doesn't and how you can. If I say what...
Well, like predicting the weather. I mean, that's not always 100% empirical or soundproof or whatever, but for the most part, we can tell what's going to happen tomorrow as far as the weather. There's an example.
I believe in is an assumption. Nothing changes. I believe in the designer of the Bible and the Gospels of Christ. I believe the Bible for its valid history that even concurs with secular history.
Well, that's not necessarily true. The Bible's history does not always concur with secular history.
For the fulfilled prophecies and also for the stories and knowledge.
Okay, what fulfilled prophecies?
Of this book. If science claims their findings are assumptions, it wouldn't have scientific data anymore. It would have assumption-cific data. Now, I don't care if that's not a word. You don't like it, sue me. Which brings us to our final question. This is question 7. If you had to show me one empirically, 100% factual, non-opinionated proof for evolution, show it with absolute, solid, unarguable, infallible proof now. Video and text responses are accepted. Shalom.
Okay, of evolution? I don't know. The only thing that comes to mind is there's this damn moth that I remember reading about that actually has transformed itself in order to deal with the ash or something in the air, somewhere over in Britain. I don't know, I'll have to look that up for you one of these days, but what I don't understand is, why are you so interested in empirical proof about everything? Like I said, I think it's because you're making an assumption about atheists that, the reasons that most atheists don't believe in God is because there's no 100% empirical proof. But I think it's kind of audacious, I guess would be the word. I don't know. To sit here and ask or expect that atheists have 100% proof when what you're believing in requires faith. And the reason it requires faith is because there's no 100% empirical evidence for the God that you're believing in. I'm assuming it's the Christian God that you believe in. You don't have 100% empirical evidence of that. You have a book of myth. That's basically what that is to most people, to a lot of people. I wouldn't say most people. But it's myth. It's parables. Do you really believe that there was a talking snake in a tree? Do you really believe that, Noah took 2 of each animal and put it in an ark that he made himself? I mean, a lot of these things, it just requires common sense to look at it and say, well, obviously these things are not true. Some of it is just reason. Your sense of reasoning in a lot of these stories in the Bible are just, this is supposed to be a merciful, forgiving God. Have you read the Old Testament? Have you read the Bible from cover to cover? And did you not notice an inconsistency in all the stories, especially just the inconsistencies between the Old Testament God and Jesus Christ? That is your biggest glaring contradiction, that this God is not true. And even if this God is true, do you really want to worship a God whose morals are totally beneath your own? In other words, if you had a kid and the kid didn't believe in something you wanted him to believe in, or didn't even believe in you on some level, would you punish that child by throwing it in the basement and catching it on fire for eternity? Would you do that? No, you probably wouldn't. You're more moral than the God that you believe in. And let me ask you this, as far as what you're deciding to have faith in without 100% empirical evidence, what makes you believe that your God is the correct God? There's a lot of gods out there to choose from. Why did you choose the particular God you worship? For what reasons? So I think you need to just consider the fact that, I mean, if you're a Christian, a big part of being a Christian is supposed to be not judging other people and not hating. And it seems to me like you've got a lot of judgment and hate going on as far as towards atheists from just the way you ask these questions. And, you know, we could all ask you the same thing. Where's your proof? What is your proof? And you can't say, well, the Bible. I mean, there's books about unicorns. Can I prove to you that unicorns exist by showing you books about them? Or if I showed you a book that said they exist, would you all of a sudden believe it? So, that's all I got to say.